Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtabhakti Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai New Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Take over to Premananda. Can you give me the book, please? Can you give me the Bhagavatam? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, titled Liberation, Chapter 4. Waiting for Govardhan to get the book. What's Chapter 4 titled? Yes, Ambarish Maharaj offended by Durvāsā Muni. Text 68. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam Sadhunam Hridayam Tu Aham Mad Anyat Te Na Jananti Naham Tebyo Manag api Sadhavo hridayam mayam Sadhunam hridayam tvaham Mad anyate na jananti Naham tebhyo managapi Sadhavo hridayam mayam Sadhunam hridayam tvaham Madanyat na jananti Naham tebhyo managapi Sadhavo hridayam mayam Sadhunam hridayam tvaham Maranyatena jananti Naham tebhyo managapi Chant. Any online reciters out there would like to? All right. Sadhavaha, the pure devotees. Hridayam, in the core of the heart. Mayam, of me. Sadhunam, of the pure devotees also. Hridayam, in the core of the heart. True, indeed. Aham, I am. Mat anyat, anything else but me. Te, they. Na, not. Jananti, no. Na, not. Aham, I. Tebhyaha, than them. Manakapi, even by a little fraction. Translation. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. Purport. Since Durvāsā Muni wanted to chastise Maharaj Ambarish, it is to be understood that he wanted to give pain to the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the Lord says, Saravo Hridayam Mayam, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. The Lord's feelings are like those of a father who feels pain when his child is in pain. Therefore, offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee are serious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very strongly recommended that one not commit any offense at the lotus feet of a devotee. Such offenses are compared to a mad elephant, because when a mad elephant enters a garden, it causes devastation. Therefore, one should be extremely careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of a pure devotee. Actually, Maharaj Ambarish was not at all at fault. Durvāsā Muni unnecessarily wanted to chastise him on flimsy grounds. Maharaj Ambarish wanted to complete the Ekadashi Parana as part of devotional service to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he drank a little water. But although Durvāsā Muni was a great mystic Brahmin, he did not know what is what. That is the difference between a pure devotee and a so-called learned scholar of Vedic knowledge. The devotees, being always situated in the core of the Lord's heart, surely get all direct instructions directly from the Lord, as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 10:11. Tesham evanukum partam aham ajnana jam tamaha nashayam yatmabhavosto jnana deepena bhasvita. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. The devotee does not do anything not sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is said, Vaishnavera kriya mudra viggeha na pujhoya. Even the most learned or experienced person cannot understand the movements of a Vaishnava, a pure devotee. No one, therefore, should criticize a pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava knows his own business. Whatever he does is precisely right because he is always guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnanativedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvannaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tegadem Yakibidamaham Vande Shri Gurandinitaranam Vancha Kopadribhisha Kripasindibevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. This is a telling verse which is giving us a clear picture of the psychology of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the psychology of Krishna, how he sees things, how he perceives his devotees, and it is giving us a clear picture of the beautiful relationship that Krishna has with his pure devotees. And that is that the devotees, pure devotees, always within the core of Krishna's heart. As he's saying here, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotee does not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. So this is a very beautiful verse, and as Ashram Maharaj was here recently speaking on a number of these verses, that there's 6 verses which Lord Vishnu is telling Ambarish Maharaj of the nature of the relationships he has with his devotees. This is one of them. So considering Krishna, or considering that the pure devotees in the heart of Krishna, as he's saying here, when, and as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, when one offends a devotee, they are giving pain to the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is clearly against the principles of Bhakti. It means we want to give pleasure to the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We want to please Krishna. We don't want to displease Krishna. So this is giving pain to the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada explains, just as a good father feels pain when their child feels pain, they are unhappy when their child is unhappy. So similarly, Krishna is like that as the supremely good father. He feels our suffering and happiness. So therefore this offense is considered to be a very serious offense that should be avoided. You have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Chaitanya Charitamrita instructing Rupa Goswami on the science of Bhakti. Brahmanda Brahmatikon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. He's explaining how the souls are transmigrating from species to species all over the universes. And by the mercy of Krishna, a Bhagavan Jeev, a fortunate person or fortunate soul, comes in contact with a spiritual master, with an authentic spiritual master, genuine spiritual master. And by the instructions, by the mercy of that spiritual master, then one comes in contact with Krishna, one is connected with Krishna. So this Bhakti Lata Bij means the seed of devotion. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that one should become a gardener and water this seed of devotion. And this watering is Shravanadi Jal, the water of hearing and chanting about Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhikabano Shravanura Shuddha Chitti Koridoy, that the love for Krishna is within the hearts of all living entities, and by the process of hearing and chanting about Krishna, that love is awakened. So that's the process. So there's the watering process, but then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that just as an expert gardener can detect weeds, the devotee needs to pull the weeds that may grow along the creeper, things that look like Krishna consciousness. So many different examples. Like Srila Prabhupada gives the example that sometimes people think, yes, I will make a lot of money for Krishna, and then I will give money to Krishna. But then they make a lot of money for Krishna and then they forget Krishna. So that's an example when Prabhupada gives that example. There's a number of examples. So, and then while taking care of this creeper, this devotional creeper, this plant, one has to be careful to not let the mad elephant in. So the mad elephant can come and cause devastation to the plant. Very easily stop plant. And then our spiritual progress is halted, is frozen there. So one has to be very careful to guard against that, the mad elephant offense. In relation to this, there is a book by Narahari Chakravarti, one of our Vaishnavacharyas, and it's called Narottam Vilas. And there's different pastimes outlined there in relationship to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. So in that book, he explains how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his own personal Govardhan Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami. So we have our Govardhan Shila here on the altar. Giriraj Govardhan, Ki Jai. So it's a tradition, Gaudiya tradition, for devotees to take, with the permission of a resident of Vrindavan, rocks or shilas, Govardhan shilas from Govardhan Hill, and worship them. So this has been going on in our tradition, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself did that. And he gave his personal Govardhan Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami. Talk about amazing prasadam there, right? Amazing gift. You get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal Govardhan Shila. Quite amazing. So then Raghunath Das Goswami, he gave that to Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, gave Govardhan Shila to Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then the Shila went to Narottam Das Thakur, and then to some of his disciples, one of his disciples, Ganga Narayan, and his wife Vishnu Priya. And then the Govardhan Shila went to the daughter of Ganga Narayan and Vishnu Priya. Her name is Krishna Priya. Krishna Priya Thakurani. So she had Govardhan Shila, she was worshipping. She was living in Gaudadesh, and then eventually she made her way to Vrindavan, and then she made her way to Radha Kund. And she was living there in Radha Kund, worshipping. What happened is she was there in Radha Kund doing her bhajan and her worship, and Mukunda was there. Actually, the Shila went to Mukunda, one of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. And then, right before he passed away, he gave the Shila to Krishna Priya Thakurani. So Krishna Priya Thakurani, she was extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, a devotee on the topmost level of Krishna consciousness. And her habit, she was always chanting. She just couldn't stop chanting, even if she tried. She just kept on chanting. She was an addict of chanting. She was addicted to chanting. Just like some people, they have a hard time, they can't stop thinking about money, for example. Just can't help but think about it, or whatever it may be. So when someone's attached, they just can't help but think about whatever they're attached to, or engage in whatever particular activity they're attached to. So she was just chanting all the time. Hare Krishna. And at one particular point, she went to hear a Bhagavatam class by Rupa Kaviraj. And Rupa Kaviraj, he was in a very noble line. He was also in the line of Mahaprabhu's associates, Narottam Das Thakur, Ganga. I believe he was a disciple of Ganga Narayan, which was Narottam Das Thakur's disciple. So he was in this very noble line. And also a very advanced Vaishnav, Rupa Kaviraj. So all the devotees were there hearing Bhagavatam class by Rupa Kaviraj. And then Krishna Priya Thakurani comes in. And what is she doing? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I mean, usually you don't do that during class. Chant japa. But she was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And all the devotees, they're very happy. They see her and they offer her a proper seat and respect. Everyone's very happy to see her. She's such a wonderful devotee. Everyone's happy besides Rupa Kaviraj. He doesn't show her any proper respect, any type of reception. And but Krishna Priya Thakurani, being a great Vaishnavi, she's not bothered by that. It doesn't matter. But so she's there and she's wanting to hear Rupa Kaviraj, but she keeps on chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And then Rupa Kaviraj, he tells her, "What are you doing? Like, this is disrespectful." He becomes very angry and he criticizes. This is very disrespectful. And she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, and this is my habit, and I just can't help but chant." And so from that, because again, when we read the description of Krishna Priya Thakurani, whoever she gave her mercy to, all the desires were fulfilled. And whoever offended her was just ruined. So after this, Rupa Kaviraj, shortly after this, what happened was he lost all of his attraction to Krishna, to serving the devotees, to serving the guru, his own guru. He speculated his own philosophy, some type of philosophy, and he went on a selfish path of enjoyment followed by people who are envious of Krishna. And he lost his bodily luster, and his fire of digestion died down, and then he realized he had leprosy. And he fled to Gaudadesh, back to where he was from, to his guru's ashram, like everything was okay. It's like, I'm just going to hide out here. Because Radhakund, everybody could see, is just all the bad effects. So he went to his guru's ashram in Gaudadesh. And then he couldn't hide there because the news spread around and that he had rejected his guru. And so then he went to Orissa. And there his body was just being destroyed by leprosy. And then he suffered terribly and before his death, and then he died. And it explains that he became a ghost. And his... It just gets worse. Yeah. And he became a ghost, and his particular, if you want to say, service or his particular activity of a ghost was that he would haunt people who offended Vaishnavas. And then he would seize them and haunt them. And then in this way, the Vaishnavas, they would understand, okay, I've committed offense, being haunted by the ghost of Rupa Kaviraj. So we have in our acharyas explain from this, because this is from this book, Narhari Chakravarti's book, Narottam Vilas, explains that when one commits offense, then they fall down. and they have the bitter fruit of Vaishnava Parad. They taste that bitter fruit of Vaishnava Parad. And therefore they say that, therefore they should be careful, and those who are careful, they become the greatest, most fortunate persons in the universe. People become careful in this regard. So you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. I'll just read a few statements of his in relation to this. All right, read a few verses in relation to this. So this is the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, authorized biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accepted by all Vaishnavas. So it says here that raising his arms, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was raising his arms, chanting and dancing. Fair complexion Lord Gauranga declared to the entire world, renouncing criticism of others, everyone please chant Lord Krishna's name. I will personally deliver anyone who avoids criticizing others and who once chants Krishna. I vow that this is the truth. So then going forward, everyone please listen. Whoever once criticizes my devotee Murari will not be delivered by even millions of baths in the Ganga. I will destroy him through his baths in the Ganga and by his chanting of the holy name. My holy name, which is a kalpavriksha tree, destroys anyone who at once blasphemes my servant. And then the question is, well, who is Krishna's servant? Right? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's a quote, the living entities who live in the numberless universes are all my servants. Therefore, any living entity that harms another living entity will perish. So these are some wonderful verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that anyone who avoids this offense and they chant Hare Krishna, they will taste the wonderful fruit of Krishna consciousness, Krishna Prem. Anyone who avoids this offense and chants the holy name properly will attain this. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us. He comes in the form of Krishna coming in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he went and when he was initiated by his spiritual master, he started chanting the holy name, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His pastime as a scholastic boy, not chanting. And then he got initiated, he received initiation. He started the process of chanting Hari Bhajan. And then he came back to his guru and he said, I'm not sure what's happening. Because he was experiencing all of these ecstatic emotions. And his guru said that this is the proper result of chanting. You're experiencing that. And his guru quoted a particular verse from the Sri Chaitanya, or from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which he said is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam vritasvaya priyanama kirtya, etc. I'll just read the English here. But by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead. Then the devotee is fixed in his vow as an eternal servant of the Lord, and he gradually becomes very much attached to a particular name and form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As his heart melts with ecstatic love, he laughs very loudly or cries or shouts. Sometimes he sings and dances like a madman, for he is indifferent to public opinion. So this is what his guru said is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that in the Kali Yuga, the prescribed method is Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam, to chant the holy name. And we see that throughout the Bhagavatam, this is what's being prescribed. in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, and factually the whole Bhagavatam is a kirtan. Shukadeva Goswami is known for his perfection by kirtan. So the whole Bhagavatam is a kirtan, and it's saying we should engage in kirtan. So if we do that, then we will attain all success. Now, just a couple last things here. Sometimes someone may look at a devotee and say, well, I don't see them crying and laughing and shouting, and maybe they're not so advanced and so on, which we have to be careful about this, because as it's mentioned in the purport, the Sahajiyas, they make a show of this. So one of our acharyas, Madhvacharya, he quotes from the Varaha Purana that, the English here, sometimes devotees of the Lord exhibit external symptoms acting like madmen. Others are introspective devotees, and still others partake of both natures. It is by one's steadfastness and by the merciful vibrations emanating from one's mouth that one's devotion can be judged, not otherwise. So he makes his point. So we can't always see externally in this way. Now, lastly, in this verse, it says, because it's saying that the heart melts in ecstatic love for Krishna. So, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, following Asha Maharaj's lead here, he was quoting Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, I think, every class. So this is being brought up in the purport here. That the word Druta Chitta, with a melted heart, indicates that one's heart, melted by the fire of anxiety to see the Lord, becomes like Jambu Nadi. Now, what is this Jambu Nadi? Anyone remember? A river of rose apple juice. We have our rose apple here, out there in the front of the Krishna Lounge. But I think it was Sukhi Bhakta's grandparents donated for that tree. And the tree is doing well. It grew very high and it produces rose apples. So it says that the devotee's heart's like that, like a river of rose apple juice. So in this way we could taste that fruit. The river of rose apple juice means our connection with Krishna rather than the bitter fruit. So we should avoid that offense and chant the holy names and taste that fruit, the rose apple juice fruit. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Rupa Kaviraj. I couldn't help looking him up when I was reading. So he turned into a ghost. He contracted leprosy, his body rotted away, and he became a ghost. But his actions began to remind others about the dangers of aparadhas, since he would haunt any person who committed an offense.
Yeah.
This became his service for some time.
Yeah.
So even as a ghost, he was...
So in that way it was a bit of a... In that way it was atonement and his service that he had. Difficult service, right? I think you have difficult service sometimes. That's a very difficult service. You're a ghost and you could do it. Mukunda says he could do it. Come on, Mukunda. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like, it was being mentioned in classes a few days, Asha Maharaj was making the point that one is haunted by that, by the attraction to Krishna. It means they try to forget Krishna, but they're haunted by that. So, in this way, sometimes people are haunted in a very intense, say, fearful way, like Rupa Kaviraj haunting someone, but also one could be haunted in a positive way, that always remembering the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. And devotees, I don't want to say they haunt people, but there's different ways to be blessed by devotees. They say, the Nectar Devotion says, one, It's pretty interesting. One is just by their looking, by their vision. Another one is by them praying for you, wishing you well, praying for you. So, so sometimes devotees, in a sense, if you want to look at it like that, they're haunting someone positively, that they are praying for them, that please let this person understand the importance of Krishna consciousness, please let this person advance, and so on. So, but that's a great blessing for us. Any other question or comment? Yes.
I just had a comment. Hare Krishna. It's not uncommon, and one shouldn't take it as a guarantee and therefore make the risk. But I've seen devotees fade away from Krishna consciousness. There was one brahmachari. He was very frustrated because he could never remember verses from Bhagavad Gita. I mean, that wasn't the cause of him leaving, whatever. But he said when he got out there in the material nature, every time he tried to enjoy, he'd remember a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Such happiness has a beginning and end, like that. Happiness in the mode of ignorance, happiness in the mode of... So he said he could never remember when he was living in the temple, but when he was out, it was like a little bird on his shoulder that always soured whatever he was trying to get into.
Yeah.
There was another, this was a lady. Anyway, she's passed away. I could probably remember. I could probably say her name. But anyway, she, now what was I going to say? Oh, she got to the point that she tried very hard to forget Krishna. And she was actually, which is kind of contradictory, she was actually was happy that she managed to forget Krishna. She said, I've almost done it. I've completely forgotten Krishna. I don't worry about it. I don't have any, which means she was actually thinking about Krishna. That was my point. But she was doing something fashion design, and she was reading, just as she thought, I've almost completely pushed Krishna out of my life. And she was reading Vogue magazine, and all the models in this particular article were all wearing Harinam chadars. So there's a number of pastimes like this,
Yeah.
that Krishna doesn't let you go, really. Don't count on that, as therefore I can take risks. But and there's the verse by Narada Muni. I'm just riffing off what you're saying. There's the verse that Narada Muni says that having once engaged in devotional service, I'm paraphrasing, one is never again considered an ordinary materialist, because again and again they remember the nectar of serving the Lord's lotus feet. Again and again, that's for sure. Again and again they remember the nectar of serving the Lord's lotus feet.
Mm-hmm.
And Prabhupada said, I've tricked you all. I said, just chant. And then Prabhupada said, but now you can't go away.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show him on the side of that one in this cup.
Yeah, it's amazing how Krishna appears over and over and over and over again. Yes, any other, thank you. Any other question or comment? Yes. Can you pass a mic to this side? Someone, please. Thank you, Damaresh.
Okay. Hare Krishna. I was thinking about verbally being offensive, and sometimes that's pretty obvious, you're being mean or really harsh. And it might become really obvious to the person that's being offensive, and but they might stop or ask for forgiveness or whatever. But what happens, or what's to say about when you're kind of like oblivious to being offensive, like you don't really realize, or maybe it's not to the extent where it's like super, super harsh words, but you're still being offensive, but it's oblivious to you. Is there like a same effect and like this really strong verses that you brought up?
Srila Prabhupada would give the example of a child that touches fire. The fire will still act. So it's not that it's because they're a child, they're excused from the reaction from the fire. Or similarly, someone may be not familiar with certain laws, like you're in Germany driving or something, you're not familiar with certain laws, but they'll still give you a fine. So that's there. Simultaneously, there's in Scripture the idea that if someone is in knowledge, if they know that something's incorrect and they still engage in it, then that can lead to a more severe reaction. So it is interesting because practically, I mean, how long does one need to be around in the Hare Krishna movement to know that you're not your body? Not very long. You just open one page of Srila Prabhupada's books, which is great. He did that. I'm not at all. It's wonderful to be constantly reminded of that. Or you hear one lecture, and you say you're not the body. So similarly, when we talk about Vaishnava Aparad, how long does one have to be around to understand that this is not good? Simultaneously, yeah. So those are things to consider in relation to that. And these verses are there to, really try to shake us up a bit and don't do this. There's a really bad result, which it is true. There are bad results. There's plenty of devotees historically and more modern times who have really suffered due to this offense. So, anyways, I hope that. You had something, Mukunda, try?
You have a question.
Okay. Can you pass the mic?
I'll preface it by saying I'm still not sure how I would answer this. I think I'd stumble if someone asked me to answer this nicely. So when, but neha bikramanashosti, that there's no loss or diminution, and then of course these cases come up. So there's no loss or diminution in your practice of devotional service. It's only just more and more in your bank account, and but then in this case, it seems, so then sometimes one says, well, what happens if you stop practicing or it seems like someone falls into Maya? They say, well, it wasn't lost, it was put on pause. Mm-hmm. So it was paused, and then when they resume their devotional service, still, even in this lifetime or another lifetime, they'll just take up what they left off. But then it just looks like it just looks like in every way in some cases that this person hasn't just paused, this person has truly regressed and has lost Krishna consciousness, not just paused, isn't just like not taking advantage and not tapping into it, just regressed. Mm-hmm. And so how exactly do we explain that? And then especially when it comes to if we say that there's no loss or diminution, you can only gain your Krishna consciousness builds up, and it can be put on pause, but then you can just build it up more. But then if we accept, which I think everyone in this room accepts, that one at one point had full Krishna consciousness, and then it dropped all the way down to whatever it is,
practically
super low, practically nothing. So, and then we're building it up again. Mm-hmm. So why from that fall can you lose it, but then now I can't lose it? And once I get back to Goloka Vrindavan, can then I lose it? So this doesn't seem like it all adds up, these descriptions.
Mm-hmm. Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, how, and the purport, how there's different coverings of lust. And he gives the example of the embryo and smoke covered by fire, and then the mirror covered by dust. But then he makes a point in that purport, interesting point, that every human actually has some bit of Krishna consciousness or God consciousness there. That's one thing. But yeah, in relation to this, people may fall down and they may have to suffer for a while in this life and the next life, and those reactions come out in different ways. I mean, some people are born in very unfortunate circumstances. They may have sinful reactions that are causing a lot of obstacles in their own Krishna consciousness. But as you were saying, the principle, which Srila Prabhupada explained, is that whatever Krishna consciousness one has achieved, it continues, which could come out in different ways. It's very interesting, because when we first come to the temple, like externally, you could say, hey, well, if we were a devotee in their last life, but I don't even know Krishna's name. Like, I don't know Krishna's name. I don't know the name of Bhagavad Gita. Like, if I was a devotee and made all this, so it's like as if it was erased. But then you come and you hear a little bit and you associate, and you're like getting your memory back. So you're getting your memory back. But Krishna talks about that those who've made progress in their last life, what is the symptom? The symptom is that they're automatically attracted to yogic principles. In other words, that's symptomatic that they have made some advancement in their last life. If they're not attracted, that's symptomatic that they really hadn't made that advancement. So these are some indications he gives how we could see. And we see that certain people, they join and they really make a lot of advancement quick. They become very knowledgeable, they become very detached. They seem to have a natural attraction to kirtan. And we see other people, it might be more difficult. So that memory of the last life, or those indications of how much advancement we made, comes out in the form of how quick we're making advancement in this life. Because two people join at the same time, and sometimes people struggle a lot, and sometimes people are really making a lot of progress. So those are some thoughts about that. In terms of falling down and then going all the way, and yes, Bajran, Swami, you had something? No, you could go. I didn't have clear.
Okay, thanks. Hare Krishna. I think you used the key word, which is revive.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you have Jad Bharat, who became, beforehand, the King Bharat became a deer, or the yogi became a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And Krishna's designed a system in this material world that balances both our free will and our predestination and karma. So in other words, you can, if what you need is to really, I'm a devotee, let's just assume. Someone's a devotee, but they've got a very strong desire to enjoy. And it's a big anartha, and it doesn't allow them to advance in spiritual life. And they commit some offense, inevitably. So Krishna may just really give it to them. They may just, because that's what you need. You need to get kicked and smacked and, you know, like this person, you know. That may be the part of, it's not that you can't go back. You can go back, but you're still, Krishna's, you know, you're lit up on Krishna's map. And someone can, you may need, because bhakti is based on free will. It's based, love is based on free will. So Krishna may, you performed X amount of devotional service, but you've got a blockage. So Krishna may arrange all kind, you fall down. Who was it, Jamunacharya's spiritual master, or was it Jamunacharya? Fell down from devotional service and became a king and was enjoying like anything. And then his spiritual master was trying to save him. And it was all kinds of, you know, and finally it's a whole story. He deliberately didn't want to see his spiritual master. I don't want to take up too much time here. But then his spiritual master cooked a veg. He got himself, his spiritual master, got himself into the king's kitchen as a cook. And he made preparations that the king, in his previous activities, had loved as a brahmachari in his guru's ashram. And so the king, when he took the fallen devotee who became a king, took those preparations. He said, only my guru made this. Where did this come from? Called the man, his spiritual master who was working as a cook, called him in front of him, and then he preached to, the spiritual master preached to him and revived his Krishna consciousness. So that's a long answer.
Power of prasadam.
Huh?
The power of prasadam.
Power of prasadam. But I'm just saying that, you know, you can fall back. You can almost completely forget Krishna. But it's not that you've lost your devotional service. That may be the process that you need to go through to become bitter, to become renounced. You know, what is it when you think, whenever I think about sex, I spit on the ground? So, yeah, Jamunacharya. So that may be what you need. So it's not that you have lost the benefit of your devotional service. It's just that Krishna has put you, you know, on a route to purify your anarthas.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, it's kind of a rough answer.
It's interesting with this example because he really fell in Maya, this king, and just like completely forgot. He just like really just fell in Maya. And then the devotee just comes with this prasad, as you're explaining. He comes with this prasadam, and then he remembers, oh yeah, it's my guru. And then he goes back and he becomes a great Vaishnava. So it was there. It was like buried within, but then just that, yeah, it's that reviving. So similarly, I don't know, people, they hear the Harinam party and then they become really attracted and they come back to the temple and then they just never forget Krishna at that point. There's some type of revival going on, whatever it may be. So.
Just as a sidelight, there was a devotee whose sister used to work downtown. The great hero Dharma Setu, when he was our Bhakti leader, would always go downtown and chant. You know, there's so many pastimes down there. But she, the lady who worked downtown, told her brother, I can always tell when you guys have been chanting downtown. He said, why? He said, they come back and they're humming or they're whistling the Hare Krishna tune. You know, they didn't, it's like subliminally brainwashed them. She said, everybody comes back tapping their toe, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3. You know, it has a subliminal effect.
Yeah, it does happen. When I would go to Mesa College, and the professor there, she would ask students to to give feedback on the Hare Krishna speaker, which happened to be me. And then she would give me that feedback. She wouldn't tell any of the students that, but she'd give me the feedback, and it'd be like a big packet. So I'd read everything, and some interesting stuff there, but critical and positive. But one thing is that I remember one of the students, she said, yeah, because we would chant there, bring a few devotees, we would chant. Said, yeah, I was just chanting on the whole way home. I was chanting, and she read Higher Taste, and she was cooking and from that and chanting and stuff. So yeah, it sticks in people's minds.
We used to park over here. Park, Vinod's apartment. Anyway. Oh, good. It's right there. So we got to get going, but I used to. It was after daylight savings, so it was dark when you would go home. So I was parked in this parking lot, getting into my car. Now, 2 college kids from San Diego State that I talked to, that's a whole story. But they were getting into their car. They couldn't see me. And the one guy said to his friend, it was his first time at the temple. His friend had been here before and brought him. So he was getting into his car with his newbie who'd never been here before. And the newbie said, damn, I can't get that song out of my head. And I felt like telling him, and it's not going away, it's just getting louder, So it has all kinds of effects.
Nice, yes. Okay, Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Well, that was Rajavadu's experience. She said she heard Prabhupada's chanting in her mind, Hare Krishna, or Rajavadu.
Yeah.